How's it, everyone? Wayne the Known here, and welcome back to another episode of Geeking Out, where we basically discuss everything nerd and geek related. I'm here doing another segment on what was it like making it. I'm joined here by Roman and Patrick, creators of the Batman fan film Gordon. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Doing well.
So again, I want to thank you both for coming on to talk about the fan film Gordon, which again I have to say, from watching it and seeing your post about it, it was surprisingly good.
Thank you.
Thank
In
you.
all honesty, and I take it, Patrick, you were the director of it.
Yes. Director, writer, one of the executive producers, along with Roman and Chris.
Nice, which we may or may not get to see tonight.
Hopefully. Let's hope.
Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask you first, Patrick, what was it like? Like, what made you want to make a fan film based on the specific Batman character, such as Commissioner Gordon?
Well, one, it was from a conversation I was having with a few friends of mine. Everybody talks about realistic Batman, how Batman would operate in realistic situations. And my thought always goes to world building. So if Batman exists in this universe where there are civil servants, where there are police officers, where there's elected officials, I feel like, and I use this phrase, the Joker gets two. And what I mean by that is he poisons the water supply and Batman stops him. And then he escapes from prison, and then he does something else heinous. And then 5 cops take him out to a field and shoot him. Because I feel like the leeway for the city like that would be very minute. For an actual man that dangerous, that intelligent to exist that can't be caged, would be untenable for a city. And then I started thinking about who would take that action. And a lot's been done about Jim Gordon, but most of the time, aside from like Batman Year One, which in my opinion is his best portrayal, he feels almost like a punching bag in many ways. Like he's something for the villains or other people to aggress on. But at the end of the day, he's a civil servant. He was a street cop, and then he became commissioner, and he has a responsibility and he has a duty to the city. And with that duty and responsibility, how long do you allow this to go on when you do have the power to stop it? And I feel like someone in Jim Gordon's position, who was a beat cop, who feels, compared to the chaos surrounding Gotham, normal in a way, I feel like his perspective is honestly the most interesting. Because with Batman,
I hardly agree.
Yeah. With Batman, you have somebody who could be seen as inherently broken, who through all of this has decided that this is the best way to get his mission across. But Gordon, at the end of the day, is a cop. He's an intelligent cop, a resourceful cop, and an excellent cop at his job, but he's still a cop. And he was a beat cop at that before he became commissioner. At what point, when you have this duty to your citizens, when you have this just what it feels like an endless loop, do you decide to put an end to it? And this is a movie about that, about him finally coming to the terms and realization of this.
Oh yeah, from what I've seen, I mean, I did like the little nod to the Killing Joke when,
Yeah,
which I gotta say was a little nice touch. And yeah, Gordon's just like had it, and other source material. Joker gets, captured by the Batman, sent to Arkham, escapes, repeat, wash, repeat kind of thing. Sorry. We'll dive more into that a bit. Roman, real quick, how'd you come about this project?
Patrick originally went to his acting friend of his, and his friend recommended Chris Burns. Chris Burns is a friend of mine, and we've worked together on many professional projects. I'm a professional employee in the film industry here in Atlanta, and Chris, when he read the script and started doing the producerial work, he started to realize that he wanted to bring me in, me and my company, Creative Force Films, and he gave me a call and said, "Yeah, I've got this guy. His name's Patrick Logan. He's got a really great script. I'd love to get your eyes on this and to help break down a budget because he feels like I'm better with the money." So he sent me the script. I gave it a read, and I will say I'm also a director, and my biggest connection to pieces is if I read it and I see it while I'm reading it, I can immediately start connecting to it. And the way Patrick wrote this story, I was seeing every single line, and he writes very fluidly, and it really helped me technically see what I was doing, and it also helps a lot for budgeting. So I immediately fell in love with the project, and I said, "Yeah, I'd be more than happy to help make this happen." So that's how I kind of took the reins as a producer, and bring it into the whole production world. So
Nice. And from what I've seen on your Instagram, this is not your first quote unquote DC project.
no, it is not. I also have worked many seasons, all 4 seasons on Doom Patrol, the flagship HBO show that came out on HBO Max.
Nice.
And I've also worked a little bit on the Marvel side. I've worked Watchmen, and I've done a few. Well, I worked on Spider-Man: Homecoming, so I've definitely worked on a fair share of like superhero type shows.
I'm sure Patrick was happy to have you tag along on this project.
Yeah, it's actually this is the first time I met Patrick, actually. So.
Well, it was perfect in reality. Out of the 3 of us, I am the least experienced in terms of filmmaking. I'm an actor by trade, mainly. And having 2 people on set, Roman and Chris, being there backing me up, because this is the second thing I've directed. Having them there gives you the confidence to push forward because you know people have your back if you start to fail. And there are times when I'll admit I was overwhelmed on set. And it was nice to have both Roman and Chris there to be able to step in and shore things up to make sure that the production was moving smoothly. I learned a tremendous amount, and the experience was very humbling, showing me what I need to learn and what I don't know. And that's why I say it was perfect. Like, Roman and Chris have been working in this business for a long time, and their experience, like, if whatever look this has to it, that's their doing. The connections that they had, the people they brought on board, that's them. And it was instrumental in if this short goes anywhere, it's due to them in reality.
I know. I think personally, from what I saw, it looked really good. When did you first start this project? Like, what made you want to like come up with the idea? I'll ask Patrick and then Roman first.
For me, it was just the idea of wanting to make something. I had made one short before this that got hit during COVID and it still hasn't seen the light of day. And this was an idea. I like making things that have intense conversations in them, where instead of, like, I'm not good at writing bombastic fight scenes or like, I guess, gigantic CG words. Like, for no disintegrations, I can't do what Roman does. What I'm good at is writing scenes from stage plays, because that's kind of what I know. And I like the idea of taking 2 people with contrasting energies, because the meat of the short takes place in the van, and just having these 2 people talk. Things being said, things being not said, subtext, that sort of thing. I feel like intense conversations can be even more dramatic than fights. And I feel like it really is an exemplary part of the medium if you can film just a conversation between 2 people and make it look interesting. That was kind of how I challenged myself on this, is I just wanted 2 people in a room talking, and I wanted it shot in a way that the audience was engaged with it. And I wanted it written in a way that the audience was engaged with it. It was also me saying, everybody likes to think of themselves as a writer till the rubber hits the road. So, like, I wanted to see is my writing good? You know, just from a personal perspective, is it reaching people? Is it affecting them in a certain way? And that's what I wanted. It was a huge test for me beyond that.
Same question for you, Roman. Have you been on the project since its beginning?
And essentially, yes. I mean, I came in prep, and I kind of took the wheel to help get production going.
Hey, Chris is here.
Hey, look at that.
Chris's iPhone.
So what we did was, once Chris introduced me to the project and they signed me on, I came in prep and kind of helped turn the page into reality. We discussed, locations where to shoot, how to do it. And just a little backstory on me. I work in the industry as an assistant director, and I'm also in the costume department. I do a little bit of both. But assistant directing has really helped me understand the logistics and how to go about.
Oh, he's got two.
And it's helped me understand logistics and how to break down things and really, turn a page into reality. So in doing so, we outsourced and figured out how to go about creating the short and make it happen in the minimal cost but maximum efficiency. So
how's it going, Chris?
There you go.
Can you hear us?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing good.
I can.
So I was just asking Roman and Patrick about the film Gordon. So to get up to speed real quick, like I asked them, how'd you come about the project, and what was it like being part of making this fan film about Commissioner Gordon?
I came into the project, a mutual friend of ours, Patrick and myself. He told me that he knew somebody that had a script and they wanted to shoot a short film. They just didn't have a lot of experience with it. And he asked me if I would be interested in talking to the guy. And I was like, of course, I'm always interested in talking about making content, making movies, and telling stories. So Patrick and I met. He sent me the script. I took a look at it. We sat down and I talked to him about, okay, here are the possibilities of what you can do and what you can't do with licensed properties.
Oh, yeah,
because,
there's a lot of copyright when it comes to DC stuff.
Yeah. So Roman and I have shot a ton of stuff with either Star Wars or Marvel Comics or DC. So we had a little bit of experience of dealing with copyrighted material or copyrighted characters. So Patrick and I talked about the options of what we could do, what we couldn't do. And then we set out to start putting all the pieces together of the puzzle so we could film Gordon.
Nice. So, what exactly was your job for the film?
My job, I was one of the producers. So between Roman and myself, we put together the crew, dissected the budget, allocated funds and whatnot, and kind of gave Patrick a blueprint of this is what you'll need from the mechanics of shooting a film, in addition to knowing the story beats, knowing the characters, the character arcs, and all that good stuff. So we presented him with the architecture of the crew side of putting together a production. And what I did once we started filming, so that was kind of in preparation. We would look for locations, we looked for picture cars, scouted locations, looked for studios, looked at a couple of actors. Now the Joker, Patrick knew all along who he wanted to play the Joker. That was Meer, of course. And so for pre-production, we're doing that. Roman was busy dealing with the budgetary issues and getting crew. He sourced out, a lot of crew. And then in the course of shooting the film, I was the first assistant director. So I would run the set while Patrick would talk to the actors about their emotions, story beats, and that kind of thing. But then he would talk to Roman, because Roman was editing the film for him, about how we could strategize to film a particular shot or sequence and how they would edit that, how they would put special effects in it post. So with the three of us in that dynamic where we lean on one another to answer questions about how we were proceeding, it really helped streamline the process and make it efficient and effective.
Nice. So I want to talk about when it came to filming, what was the very and I'll ask you guys in order or whoever wants to answer. What was this movie shot in order, or was there like a specific scene you shot first and then? Because I know sometimes movies you shoot it, sometimes you'll film the end, you'll film the beginning at the end, or vice versa.
So we had 2 days for the space that we wanted, and we filmed it basically on where the actors were going to have to put the most energy and what was most efficient for us to move. So on the first day, we filmed everything except the van scene. And the second day, we filmed the van scene. We were lucky in many ways. And also, we were adaptable enough to take what we had close to the studio, Institute studio, to be able to use that and dress that in such a way to make it look like the alleyway and the outdoor shot. All of that is within, I want to say, 100 feet of the studio. And
yeah, we managed to shoot this entire project on one location. So
yeah,
the rooftop scene is on an LED wall, and the opening driving scene is also on an LED wall. So the first day of shooting, we shot the rooftop inside, and then we went outside when the sun went down, and we shot the alleyway scene. And then we finished our night shooting the big Joker scene when he's walked out into the wilderness. And then the second day, we filmed the opening driving sequence of Gordon. And then we finished the rest of the day shooting that van scene. And that van scene was chunky. I mean, they were 7-minute takes. So we did.
Oh.
It was very intense, but it was it was well planned with Chris and I putting our heads together and figuring out the best way to go about it. It worked out. So
nice. And I gotta say, the ending scene where Batman and Jim are on top of GCPD, I didn't realize that was a backdrop until again I saw the behind the scenes on Instagram. I thought that was like you guys went to an actual tall building somewhere and shot at night.
So funny story there. Chris actually originally was looking at locations, and he asked me, he's like, do you know any good rooftop spots? And I went out and I scouted a few, but it dawned on me because we filmed our fan film Notice Integrations on the LED wall in the studio of my friend Terry Fitzpatrick. So I immediately thought, well, let's challenge ourselves. Let's shoot on an LED wall and we'll build the rooftop. So I have a friend and a colleague in my company. His name is Bijan Moshkalani. He does some set construction, and I asked him if he could build a rooftop, and he said, yeah, let me do it. So him and Nick Saka he was our main coordinator. Nick was his foreman. They built that rooftop, and they did a fantastic job of it.
So Chris, where were you?
Patrick and I actually went downtown and midtown Atlanta. We looked at a number of different parking decks and rooftop structures where we could possibly shoot. But the logistics of getting from downtown to the north part of Atlanta, where Terry's studio is at with the video hall for the other stuff, logistically, it just didn't make any sense. And when Roman suggested that we could build the rooftop on the stage and just do everything on locations, and yeah, that makes way more sense.
It was
you just answered my question about where are you guys looking for locations for rooftop.
It's funny because when they mentioned downtown and midtown Atlanta and where we were shooting at,
that's pretty big, area too.
Like being a logistics person like Chris, the second I saw that was like an hour company move in the middle of the day, and that's just like it's a logistical nightmare for the budget that we had. So it took some convincing, but once I kind of walked them through how we can make it look good. And I will say this to any filmmaker out there: if you want to shoot an LED wall, the best way to do it is you add practical elements, including an actual set that you build, and then you bleed it into the screen, but you shoot them on long lenses so the screen is blurred. And the other real big element is you add smoke. Smoke is awesome. We had smoke machines blowing through the set, so it looked like clouds. So
again, really, really convincing. And I did like the fact that it kind of reminded me of the Batman the Animated Series with that 90s aesthetic.
Yeah, that was the fun part too. Patrick helped me build a actual backdrop. So that backdrop was built from multiple images. And we tried to mirror it as much as we could to that world. So
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Chris, what would you say some of the difficult things you had to do on the set was for Gordon?
Difficult. Things weren't really that difficult. You know, it was just trying to plan out our days, what scenes we're going to shoot, in which order, what made the most sense for being efficient with everybody's time. We had vehicles that we rented, the police van we rented, Gordon's car we rented, and all of those had to be moved, maneuvered. When you see Batman, when he first apprehends the Joker outside with all the police, that's the back side of the studio. There's actually a rolling door that goes directly into the studio space. So we were able to shoot in the alleyway outside of the studio. So that saved us a ton of time. But actually moving the vehicles in and out of the space, some of that, it takes time. Trying to do rehearsals with the SWAT vehicle. It's a giant vehicle.
Oh yeah.
Just trying to get the mechanics of the cars moving, Batman disappearing, Mike's camera, little things like that. Where is everybody placed at? Because we only had, correct me if I'm wrong, Roman, we only had one uniformed cop car, correct?
The other two were just with lights.
So the uniformed police car, we had to strategically move it when we would do other shots. So if we're doing a shot looking at Gordon, who's watching the Batman, we'd have to move that uniformed police car behind him. And then we're doing, the wide where the SWAT van goes through, we have to move it again. So just little things like that, logistically remembering and documenting the world of the movie where those things were. So as far as challenges go, we just had a lot of people there who knew what they were doing, knew what we were asking of them. Everybody came and did their job, did their A game, so it made it very easy and efficient for us to get the footage we needed and be successful.
Nice. Yeah, that actually brings me to my next question about the vehicles. What company did you rent the vehicles for? Jim's car, the SWAT car, and anyone can answer this. Where'd you guys go to rent the vehicles? Because those vehicles look really cool. And were those actual drivable, or were they just prop cars?
No, they were drivable. So Chris actually found the SWAT van, and they showed me where it was, and it's this company called Southern Picture Cars, and I'm actually familiar with them because of Doom Patrol. The show Doom Patrol actually rents the vehicles to the show. The Doom Patrol rents the vehicles from Southern Picture Cars. So we had a day where we all went and scouted it. Patrick, myself, Chris, did you make it that day? I can't remember. I think you might have been working.
Go ahead.
Didn't make it that day, but we were talking about actually building a set we were concerned that the SWAT van wasn't going to be large enough for the actors, the camera operator, and lighting equipment. But when you guys went and took a look at it at the lot, you said, we don't need to build anything. This thing is huge.
Yeah, so myself, Patrick, Bijan, our construction guy, came just in case we needed to get proper dimension of the truck to build the set.
Wait, so the truck, inside the SWAT car, was you actually filmed inside the SWAT car?
So we actually filmed inside that SWAT van. That's how big it was.
Pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, because
we got lucky on that, I would say, because originally, like the rooftop, we had planned to build a set. Because for the angles, for the shots that we wanted to get, I figured it wouldn't be big enough. But then we actually went to pick it up, and it was more than spacious. It's just enough to just
crazy.
Inside.
Just to fit the camera person, you guys.
Yeah, well, our director of photography also tagged along, Justin Reich.
Shout out to Justin.
DP. Yeah, he like we opened up. I'll never forget. We opened the back doors. Like Bijan and I each were on each side of the door. We opened it, and Patrick and Justin looked in at it, and Justin goes, "Yeah, we don't need to build anything. This is huge. Like, I'm good."
I seriously thought that was just the way, and I thought when the van was making that rumbling noise, I thought that was that's really convincing.
Oh yeah, so shooting on the day when we put the van in the location, what was really fun, this is another little film trick, is you get a special effects guy, and all you need is a metal rod, and they stick it into the wheel well, and they'll just sit out there and do this, and it makes the vehicle look like it's moving. So that helps the actors very much. And then we had We had an electrician. Justin lit it beautifully, by the way, and he only did it with 2 lights. There was one light above them, one solo source light, and then he had an electrician at the front of the truck. I don't know if you noticed, there's a light leak in the doorway to the front of the van, and he actually had a guy just slowly rotate the light to make it look like the van was driving.
I see. That's why I love the practical effects.
Oh, it was great. And then we would do, we would actually, when the van was actually lurching, that was simply a visual cue from me at the monitors, because Patrick was focusing very much on, the dramatic elements. Chris was at the back of the van with camera, and I would just point at the special effects guy, and he would actually do a hard lurch, and it would cue our actors when like a turn was being made. So
and they would go like basically like that.
Yeah, and that was all natural. Like when they were actually like bouncing, the van was actually lurching. So
very nice.
Yeah, that worked out really well. And what was really cool when we went to look at the van, turns out that they had all these 90s era police vehicles, and they fit the aesthetic perfectly. We actually found the Crown Vic that Gordon was driving, and Patrick saw that and he's like, "That's Gordon's car." Period. So we took some pictures, and luckily, they knew us from other shows, and they were like, "Well, we can do, a little friend discount here since we know you guys," and worked out great. But
nice.
Word of the wise for money issue, always remember towing costs are very expensive. So
yeah, that was. I swear that felt like the most expensive part of the shoot.
It definitely could. Yeah,
I can't imagine how much the SWAT car itself would cost.
Yeah, so the vehicles are all drivable, but here's the catch: they don't actually have proper license plating, so they have to be towed from the rental company to the location. And once they arrive on location, they are yours. You must keep them on the private premises. So that's the whole concept.
That makes perfect sense. If you don't mind me asking, you could feel free to answer this. What was the budget for this film?
30K.
Yeah.
30K?
30K was the budget, and I didn't want to go beyond that just because, once again, like I film things, I write things anyway that are practical to shoot, feasible on a budget, and not too much over budget. Because I also got to think about, I can't, as you can't with fan films, monetizing this is either impossible or next to impossible.
Oh yeah,
because the wrath of DC Comics,
especially again with the copyright.
Yeah, which fair enough. We're using copywritten characters in this.
Oh yeah.
And what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a character study piece too. But I'm very budget conscious whenever I do anything. I've been to far too many table reads, sitting across from someone is like, I want a battle scene here and a spaceship here. And I'm like, well, we have $50 in the center of the table to spend on this film. So I don't know how you're going to get all these things you want. And even this, like and Roman and Chris know about this better than I do, all of the unforeseen costs that go into making of an indie film, it's almost like take whatever your budget is and then add 10% for emergencies.
Yeah.
Something like that. But even having said that, I want to reiterate what Chris said. This shoot was smooth. Everybody was on point. Everybody was doing everything to the best of their ability. There were any hiccups we experienced were rectified or moved past very quickly. Everybody moved like a singular unit to create this. And the organization, being an actor on Indies, Majors, everything, the organization that you see on a set oftentimes determine what your finished product looks like. Not always, but a lot of the time. And once again, if this looks good, which it does, it's due to how smooth the set was.
Nice. So now I really got to ask, because with Patrick having like the poster behind him, what was it like casting Mark Meer to play such an iconic character as the Joker? Because I know before that he voiced Starro the Conqueror in the Gotham Knights vignette. Yeah. I'll ask Chris first. What was it like having Mark Meer come on to play as the iconic Clown Prince of Crime?
Oh, well, it was great. It was great. And that was something Patrick wanted from the beginning. He's like, Mark's the guy. I've talked to him about this project. I want to get up and running. And like, I've known Mark for a number of years outside of this. So it just seemed, like a natural fit. And it was just, who do we find for Gordon? That would be a great foil for him. And again, Patrick knew Johnathan. I had never worked with Johnathan before, but he was incredibly easy to talk to, easy to give direction to. He was really dialed in to what's going on with the court. But in between takes, he would like clown a little bit, joke around, do some kind of physical comedy bits. When we weren't shooting, so he wasn't all crazy methody. So the two of them really worked very well off of one another, especially never working together before. I knew Micha, who played Batman, and we brought him in. We had worked, Roman and I worked with Micha on Doom Patrol. He played Stunt Robot Man for, was it season 3 and 4, Roman?
Yeah.
Nice.
And, when Patrick and I were initially talking about starting the movie, I said, these are your options for a bat suit. Usually when you get a bat suit that's already made, you're going to get the person that comes with it because it's like a Cinderella suit. It's made for one individual. And the odds of anyone else fitting in that, it can happen. Usually it doesn't. Yeah. So you can either rent a suit and hire the guy to go get the suit, or you can make a suit, which can cost you anywhere from $5 to $5 million. Or, plans.
Just cut out.
We had 5 different guys in the Atlanta area that had suits. Micha, who just happened to work with on the show, and he had a suit, needed a couple modifications. That was fairly easy, and we got a stunt man with the suit, not just an actor or a cosplayer or anything like that. So it worked out really well.
Nice.
Yeah. I want to take a second to kind of sing the praises of our Batman, if I can, along with the other actors.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. Micha, whenever Chris showed me that, Micha was always my first choice for a number of reasons. One, he's not just a fantastic actor, he's also a fantastic stunt coordinator and stunt person himself. The scene at the very end where Batman kind of just swoops in, that was his idea. Originally, I hadn't budgeted for any stunts, and stunts scare me a little bit just because of not just the cost, but also the inherent danger involved. Micha insisted that not only could he do it, he could do it well, which he could, absolutely. He was instrumental on set because everything physical we did during that first day, and the punches being thrown, the way Mark takes the punches, the way Mark just falls into the grave or is even placed on his knees. You need a stunt coordinator for all of those things. Anything that could cause potential harm to the actor, you need a guy like that on set. And he was great. He was reliable. He knew exactly what he needed to do it efficiently, and could give direction quickly. So aside from him just, playing a really good Batman, which I like the Pattinson Batman. I like the Man About Town Batman, the kind of thin, svelte figure Batman, and Micha Thompson, who's got years of training in martial arts.
Shout out to, vigilante stunts, right? For anyone who's wanted.
Yes, please.
That right. The bat suit. I love how the cowl reminds me of the cowl from Arkham Knight.
Yeah. The cow's great, and that's his. He did a great job with it.
Well, he made that?
I don't know if he made it, but I know he modded it. So
it's really, again, shout out to vigilante stunts. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But as for Mark, I knew Mark before I'd written this. Actually, we knew each other from D&D circles, believe it or not. Yeah,
I know Mark's. From what I see on Mark, he's a big D&D
huge
D&D-er.
We were both D&D stream. He still is. I'm not anymore, but we were both on a D&D stream called D4.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, shout out to it's called Eldritch Eye Entertainment now. Check them out if you want to. But they run a really good D&D stream here in the local Atlanta area. And Mark and I met there. And Mark's wife, Belinda Cornish, is a script writer. Not just a writer in general, playwright, that sort of thing. So I when I wrote the script, I sent it to him specifically because I wanted to get his opinion and his wife's opinion on it because she's an experienced playwright. And when he came back, he's like, I loved it. It's like, do you have someone to play the Joker? I was like, well, that's kind of why I sent it to you. Because secretly, just slipping in there, I would like you to play the Joker. And he was like, I'm so down to play the Joker. And he was fantastic. We did, as Roman said before, we did long takes in that van scene. And he was high pitch, perfect energy.
Oh, it
every
was
single time.
With your permission, if I could show a clip of his voice.
Please.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, I just want to get your permission before, you know.
Those things will kill you, you know. And you with a wife and baby. You really gotta consider the future, Jimbo. Oh, that's right.
Sure.
Ahead of time. Yeah, no, his pitch, just hearing, and for anyone watching this is the second actor named Mark to play as the Joker.
True. And
That's true. Yeah, with Hamill. Yeah.
Yeah. Roman, same question. What was it like working with Mark on the set of Gordon?
Oh, I always enjoy working with Mark. So funny story, I used to be a big fan of Mark from Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I'm a big Mass Effect fan. And flashback to 2012 at Dragon Con, when I actually met my wife was friends with him and she introduced me to him on the dance floor during a rave. So I met Mark in his very, open, wild world. His like he lives.
He's a cosplayer as well.
Oh, and he was very nice, very awesome. We got along quite well. And I was really impressed because he remembered me the next year at Dragon Con. So he's very good at remembering people. He's just all genuine, great guy. So since moving here to Atlanta, I got to, talk to him more, and I run into him every Dragon Con and we hang out. And I later found out that, Patrick and Chris were working with Mark on this Batman project, and that was actually dropped on me. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And I actually shot him a message and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be helping produce this. And he was like, oh, great. Well, it'll be good to see it.
Everybody just knew him.
Yeah. Mark is one of those people where you just like, if you know him, you know him. Like, he's a very genuine dude.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, honestly, I really enjoyed, because I never got to see him perform in front of a camera. And we're actually trying to get him on one of our Creative Force projects coming up in the future. So seeing him perform in front of the camera was a treat. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing both him and Johnathan, their whole dynamic.
Yeah.
It was really, really awesome. It felt good. So.
Here's the tricky thing about Mark. He was all in as far as the script and the creative personnel were concerned. He just had a very, very condensed time frame which he was available, because he was traveling all over the world, not just the country. He was traveling all over the world doing different events and jobs, and D&D in a castle, and all these crazy fun.
Oh yeah, he's been busy lately. I mean, he even worked on a Star Wars project as well not long ago.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
So he was all in with us as far as the creative was concerned. It was just narrowing down his time frame. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, he had basically a 4-day window.
Yeah, we got him on a Thursday and he left on Tuesday or something.
Yeah, I drove him back to the airport.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Nice.
while we're on the topic of actors, I do want to talk about Johnathan D.
Oh
Williams.
yeah, the guy who played as Gordon. That's who I was actually going to ask about next.
Yeah. I've known Johnathan for a while. We've just known each other off and on. He's a local Atlanta actor, working actor, excellent working actor. And when I presented, it was not my initial idea, but once again, the guy who brought all this together, Vince Pisani, who's another local Atlanta actor and kind of my acting mentor.
Shout out to Vince.
Shout out to Vince, another excellent working actor. Brought up Johnathan, and knowing Johnathan, oh God, that's perfect. Like when I sat him down, John essentially embodies a lot of what Gordon is. He's a man of principle. He's a family man. He has a daughter himself. And he's a man of quiet pathos. And what I mean by that is he's got a lot of very deep-seated emotions inside of him. And it's very special to find an actor that can just look in a direction and tell you a million things. Like, I wanted somebody, especially knowing that the Joker is always going to bring this bombastic energy, I wanted to contrast someone who was stoic but was sitting on a reservoir of emotion. That's Johnathan. And with everything that he does, you can just kind of slowly see it start to come out without him necessarily losing control or shouting or screaming or anything like that. There's an air of authority to him. And that's kind of what he brings to the table. Like, all of the parts that he plays seem to have just a little bit of authority to them. And he sits in it very well. I was so happy when I got Johnathan, when they like put the makeup and the mustache on him.
Oh, that's a fake mustache. I thought that was
Yeah.
real.
And a quick shout out, Alex Burns
Yes.
was tagged onto the project as I came on, and Chris and I know Alex really well. Chris actually, Chris and his wife Miracle, we found Alex and myself. I was there, but Chris and Miracle found him at Cincinnati Comic Expo. He was applying for a costume contest. And you want to tell the story, Chris?
Yeah. So Miracle and I, my wife, there she is driving. Hey. We go to a number of different conventions, and we host and judge their costume contest. We both work in film and television as costumers and whatnot, so we go out to these. And Roman has joined us for a number of years, helping us with these contests as well. So we went out to Cincinnati Comic Expo. I think it was 2017.
Yeah, 2017.
Never heard of that con
And
before.
yeah, it's a great show. If you haven't been to it, it's a great show. It's usually the end of September, right around their Oktoberfest. It's fantastic. But Alex had entered the Masters category. He came in as Jack Sparrow, and he was acting the part. He looked the part. He had a book called the Lookbook, which has fabric samples and dyeing samples and sewing samples.
What's his name?
Alex Burns.
Alex Burns Effects. Yeah.
No relation.
Yeah, it's no relation. You can look him up on Instagram. He's got samples.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of his stuff right. Yeah, I'm looking at his Jack's. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, the kid's insane. He's insanely talented as far as a costumer, as a fabricator, and as a makeup artist. But he came in and he had this lookbook, right, which we use.
His stuff is really good. Holy crap.
Oh yeah. I think we were all lucky to get the kind of talent that we did get.
Like, let me talk to the guy behind the mask, like, drop the character and all that. Like, did you want to do all this? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, how long did it take? And we got some answers. And she's like, well, what do you want to do with your life? What are you doing with your life? He was working at like these haunted houses, making $5 an hour, doing the exact same thing. She's like, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to do what you guys do. She says, you want to sit at a table and judge people? He's like, no, I want to work in film television. So it just so happened, yeah, right? Just so happened that 2 weeks later, I was on season 1 of Black Lightning, doing superhero costumes, and I needed another person for my department. I needed another person to help me with these costumes because we were just having a hell of a time with it. And I called him up. I'm like, hey, you still got that kid's number? And she's like, yeah, let me find it. I called him up. I'm like, hey, dude, you want a job? I can offer you a job, but I need you here in like 5 days. Can you get here? He's like, well, hold on. Can you talk to my parents? I was like, what?
Oh, he wasn't. Oh, wait, he was underage?
No,
he was 22 years old, but he was still living at home in his parents' basement, working at haunted houses in Cincinnati. It's just an underutilized, incredibly talented resource. And I was able to, convince his parents, look, we're not trying to kidnap your kid or sell him off to, some crazy Taken movie or something like that. This is for real. And he packed up his bags. He took a chance. He came down to Atlanta from Cincinnati, and he's been here ever since. Now, he's been working nonstop. He's made the transition from being a costumer into a special effects makeup artist. That's where his heart.
I mean, it shows from what I've seen on his Instagram.
Yeah.
But we just worked together on a movie with Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans called Red One, and Alex is over there doing special effects makeup on some creatures, and just doing a hell of a job. But yeah, the kid is insanely. He did Joker, Scored Mustache. So that's it.
Yeah,
Nice.
so the inspiration, Patrick can go into details on this, but the whole inspiration for Joker is obviously The Man Who Laughs, and Alex took that image and blended it into
the 1920 film, I think.
Yes, the original Man. Who
yeah,
Laughs.
the original, yeah,
which was the original inspiration for Joker.
Yeah,
correct, yeah. And Patrick utilized that and told Alex, and then Alex did something really creative, and he took the makeup idea but turned it into beating marks from Batman hitting him. So when you look in the movie, he's got like blood trailing out, and that's the whole concept. Is he was doing beating marks on him to create the makeup rather than him just wearing makeup. So Alex also aged Johnathan. So pretty well. Like Jonathan's not that old looking.
I know, like what Gordon's like what in his 50s, his 60s at least.
Yeah, and Johnathan is early 40s or high.
Yeah, like Jonathan's one of those dudes has an imperceptible age.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
You
anywhere
can't tell
between the
what it is.
ages of like 35 and 55, and you'll never.
It was convincing. I think it's cool that the mustache looks really convincing. It's not like the one you can go online and buy. It's like the one that like you have to commission to look.
No, he not only applied it, but then he dyed it to match his hair. So
from someone who's also worn fake beards and everything, like that looks convincing. And I also like Mark's makeup as well as the Joker. Also, I love the contacts he's wearing. Those the zombie eyes.
Those
I know
are
what they're called.
Those are Mark's. Yeah,
I do not doubt it because I think I've seen him wear those before with like some of his other cosplays.
And that was an actor's choice. He creatively brought that to the table.
It worked.
Fun fact too, if you actually pop this film in color, because we did shoot the whole thing in color, he is actually wearing the same colors as the Joker. His hair is actually green.
Yeah,
he is wearing an orange tie.
I saw your pictures of that on the. Which again, if it's okay if I share it to show the colorized version.
Yeah, of course, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the suit also. How did you guys come about his costume? Like, because I know I saw on the colorized version of the pictures, it's like an orange waistcoat, I think.
Yeah, that was
a little bit of a hunt.
Yeah, that was a little back and forth with Patrick and I. Thankfully, the white spats that he's wearing, we found that the morning of.
Yeah,
that's because we struck out, and I went to this costume shop and costumes, etc. RIP, and I'll miss that. But I went in there and they had one pair of spats left. Ooh. And they were rentals, and I'm like, "Can I just buy these?" And they were like, "Okay."
So, why not?
Yeah. So
nice.
But yeah, it was a lot of little hunting, some modifications, not too much though in the costumes. Thankfully, it's standard type of clothing, except for the bat suit, of course. The bat suit we upgraded a little.
Oh yeah, no, the bat suit looked really good as well. One thing I did before when I did one about this, the bucket heads, I want you guys to give a shout out to the crew who helped with this. I will have them get the recognition. So if you all can remember who helped with this fan film.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd like to start with our camera team, Justin Reich and Tony Collins, our camera operator, as well as the rest of the G&E team. Justin was essentially like handled most of it. The G&E crew was relatively small. Let me pull up a crew list real quick, and I can actually tell you exactly how big our crew was. Yeah, we had I know Tyler Brown was there. Tyler was doing some gaffing. Yeah, we had Kiki Griffin. She was our first AC. Danny Toretta was our second AC, as well as our stand-in. He got to wear the Batman cowl, which he enjoyed.
Well, I mean, any chance you get to wear a bat suit? I mean, come on.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely a shout out to our two sound guys. We had Jacob Briggs for day 2, and then we had Lucas Courtwright for day 1. The sound, I'm a big stickler for sound for all my projects. If the project doesn't sound good, then it doesn't matter how it looks. That's how I always feel. You need to make sure that the audio really drives it. So those two guys did a fantastic job on set sound. I'd like to definitely give a shout out to Josh Stringer. He did our BTS photography. We plan on releasing some more of that stuff later.
Nice.
And we had Eric Ripley was our props master. Eric did a great job. He took care of all the minutia, but we had a firearm for Gordon, his Magnum, and we made sure that was airsoft. Checked and cleared every single day. Chris, our first AD when we were shooting, made sure to present all that, make sure we're all safe.
Oh yeah, no, and I think anyone who wants to become because I talked to another prop master, it's always good to have everyone check it.
Absolutely, yeah. We had Eric Ripley was also one of our police officers in the scene. You actually see him helping to put the straitjacket on the Joker. He's on the left.
And was that a real straitjacket?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was another fun one to find. Thank you, Costumes, etc.
That one had a weird strap through the crotch of it that we decided to cut off.
We cut that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess most straitjackets have that weird crotch under thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Turner was Chris's second AD. He did a great job. Then our second AD was William Scott. And then a shout out to our two PAs, actually three PAs. We had Breck Buster, Andres Fonts, and Elise Myers was also one of our PAs.
Nice.
My girlfriend.
That's his girlfriend. And then you can't forget our special effects team. We had Tiger Morgan and Mike Ferranti. They did a fantastic job. They really helped escalate while we were shooting. They did the smoke. They did all the smoke effects. They did the car movements. They were just all over it, all on top of it. They did a fantastic job.
Nice.
And then you can never forget our crafty and caterer, Wayne Smith. He's a very good dude. He used to work with me as a production assistant on Doom Patrol, actually, and then he splintered off and started his own crafty company. And
nice.
He's been doing great. So I've been calling him a lot for our smaller shoots.
Nice.
And then last but certainly not least would be Terry and Lance Dreesen and Terry Fitzpatrick. They were our LED ops and the studio manager. They owned the studio that we shot at. And
that was nice of them to let you. And the fact that you shot the alley scene when Batman's punching Joker, you shot that outside.
We did, yeah.
I think that's cool when you can utilize not just the studio itself, but outside as well.
Yeah. And they were very, welcoming, and they were very hospitable to all of us. And I can't thank them enough for letting us use the space. And then just a shout out to our cast, our background crew. We had Honor Santa Croce, my wife. She was one of our cops. We had Pejman Moshkalani. We had Eric Ripley, of course. Maxwell Highsmith, he's the gentleman who Gordon stops before the fight. Maxwell is a good dude. I've worked with him on other bigger shows. He's a local background artist who works quite a lot of TV shows. He does a good job.
Nice.
Then we had Nick Saka and Jenna Marie. And then our stunt team, not only Micha, who played Batman, was also our coordinator. We also had Matthew Sumner and Ryan Fisher. They played the SWAT officers. So
Nice.
fully decked out, but they were our SWAT guys, so we knew them being stunts that they were under control. So that was pretty much our crew. Our crew was right around 30 people. So
That's a lot. So I gotta ask, who's so the cigarettes that Gordon's that smoking, are those real cigarettes?
No.
I thought okay,
No.
just from what I saw, I thought those were like he was smoking real cigarettes.
So we did cheat at the end with the red stripe where he was
Mhm.
covering it, but that was we did herbal cigarettes.
Yeah, I was not going to make that. He's
Oh,
smoking in basically every scene.
I forget
He
herbals-
went through,
forget
I think,
herbal-
3 packs.
I forget herbal cigarettes are a thing, and from what I've been seeing online from other prop people, they're prop cigarettes. They look real.
Yes.
They have the real smoke, but they have like organic
So-
stuff in them.
I've been on a set where no one knew about herbal cigarettes, and they just handed me a pack of Lucky Strikes. Like found the hardest brand of cigarettes they could. Is like, yeah, this is it. I was like, well, this is gonna be a long day. All right.
Now I want to talk about the scene. So first asking Chris. Chris, what would you say your favorite scene was to do?
My favorite scene to do. Well, everybody really was into the interior of that van. Like Patrick and Roman said, we were doing really long takes. Everybody was really conscious of, and respectful of not making noise or interrupting anything, or opening a can of soda while someone's in the middle of some heavy dialogue and whatnot. So, we spent a whole day moving around that truck, setting up different angles, watching the boys kind of find the scene, and then explore it and play with it and finesse it into what it ultimately became. I would say shooting, two things that were a lot of fun was getting Batman flying over the rooftop wall and landing, and then just having the mechanics of a handheld shot of dragging the Joker out of the truck through the woods with flashlights going in his face and bouncing around. You have a camera guy going backwards, trying to follow the action as they're dragging along, and he's going through his mania of realizing what is about to happen. That scene was a lot of fun to shoot. We shot that pretty late that night. It was one of the last things we shot, and it was that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It was 3:10 in the morning.
Oh wow!
She wrapped at 3:17.
I really do like Mark's line that when he says, "You know what's funny? I don't want to die." That scene, well delivered on Mark's part.
It's funny. I don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where was that shot at anyway? Was that a park or?
That was
back lot
100
of
feet off the
once
building.
again.
Oh wow! I thought that was like a park or something you guys went to.
Drainage ditch, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got real lucky. There was a drainage ditch off the side of the building, and it just worked out nicely. There was a horseshoe driveway around it, and we just laid a tube of death, which is basically a large plastic tube that you fill with smoke, and it creates a wall of smoke. So it actually blocked out most of the concrete you see in the area. And there was a bunch of trees. There was another layer of trees behind that. So it didn't look like we were anywhere near a city. It looked like we were out in a vast area. And then
it looked like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Justin, again, with his lighting, helped bleed a lot of that out, hide it, and turned out great. So
nice. Oh yeah. Also, what sound effect did you use for Gordon's gun when he shot the Joker in that scene?
That I believe was a Beretta.
I think, well, the gun itself was a 357 revolver, but I think Reed originally had, also quick shout out to two of the most important pivotal sound components. That's Antonia March, who did our music, and Reed Lovell, who did our sound mastering. Those two guys in the post world knocked it out of the park. I'm so thankful we had them. But Reed laid in the actual weapon, but it sounded too beefy for what Patrick was looking for. So he went with like a much smaller caliber weapon just to make it seem more mundane. So
nice.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying that last scene, just to kind of tangent there for a second, it was super important to make it mundane.
Yeah.
Because the idea, like to me, the Joker has always envisioned or dreamed of a bombastic death, final fight to the death with the Dark Knight, and his worst nightmare would just be being shot in the back of the head and being buried in a ditch somewhere. Nobody sees it, nobody knows about it. There's no audience.
Oh yeah, no, because Joker's always had like dramatic deaths.
Yeah,
and the fact that he met his at the end of a gun by someone he would never expect.
Yes, like that was kind of why I wanted. That's why the death is scary to him, because he's like, now that it's here and it's happening, is just I don't want to die. You're a fan of the animated series.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the episode Joker's Favor?
Yes, I do.
To those of you who don't know, that's an episode in the animated series that's about this dude named Charlie, who just cuts off the Joker in traffic, and the Joker torments him for the entire episode up until the end.
I remember that.
And Joker's legit, like his face when he's like, Charlie has that bomb.
Yes. like he realizes like that great line at the end is like, no fight to the finish with the Dark Knight. Tomorrow the papers will read that the Joker was blown to smithereens in an alley alongside a miserable little nobody. And like, it's so good. I love that episode so much because it's like, this is just a normal, average schlubby dude living in Gotham on the day-to-day. And being killed by him is a nightmare.
It's just a slap to the face, basically.
Yeah.
It was, again, it was really well done. And again, Mark delivered that emotion really well. Seeing him go from happy to like, oh shit, kind of.
Human.
He's just, beyond being a voice actor, Mark is just a good actor in general. He's done a lot of improv, a lot of one-man shows, a lot of just different variations. I know he's like most famous for Shepard in Mass Effect, but like as just an actor on stage, he's just amazing.
It was also nice to see Joker with having long hair, because you don't really see Joker with a lot of long hair.
Yes.
Which is not a wig to anyone who's wondering. That's Mark's actual long hair. Yeah. Roman, same question. What was your favorite scene to shoot during this film?
Oh man. I will say, obviously, my absolute favorite was the van, because I had to be very dialed in. I was working as this script supervisor and the editor, so I was just making sure we had every beat covered, and that I was grinning the whole time watching the takes. But I will say my second favorite was honestly the opening scene that we shot, the process trailer, the poor man's process. That was just I've always wanted to do my own shoot with that, where we have our own little cars moving and all, and that just made me smile, because a little 30-man crew was doing something that I've done with like 200 people in a real giant.
The fact that you have like 30 people is impressive. I know I'm sure they were like happy as well to be a part of this.
That's like one of my that's like a big motto for us in Creative Force Films as the owners, is we want to make sure that no matter what the project is, everyone is having a good time. That's all I care about as a producer. So, someone has any issues, bring it up and let's do it. Even if, we're having a long day, I still want people to go home happy. So we definitely had that mentality. And my favorite with the band, though, is while we, Patrick and I were sitting at a desk and we were watching, but quite literally the rest of the 21 people on the crew were right behind us, glued to the screen, just watching. Like, it was very, very fun. So
captivating performance.
Yeah. It's really well done. Same for you, Patrick. What was your favorite scene to do?
I mean, everybody's already touched on the van scene, which was not only my favorite scene to shoot, that was where I was able to direct the most.
It was like the main focal point of this film.
Yeah. And I can direct actors well, I get blocking well, but like a lot of the more complex shots were a little overwhelming for me. And that's when I felt I was kind of in my element a little bit. But beyond that, I have to say that I'll kind of rephrase the question a little bit. The shot I learned the most from was that van shot, where there's a lot of moving parts to it. And that was a point where I had to lean a lot on Roman and Chris to help me with it. And it was seeing the way in which it's like, you direct extras, you move the cars in, you get the timing down, everything beyond that to get that part in was probably the most I had learned on set, not counting all the pre-production we had done, which is where the real, I would say, lessons began.
We did about a month of prep. So.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And that's a really short time, because sometimes films or even TV shows can take like months or even years to plan out.
Well, they do that because they're working about 86 days. We only had a 2-day shoot. So,
and you guys got a lot done in 2 days, I gotta say.
Yeah. Once again, when you've got an efficient set, you can get a lot done in 2 days.
And plus, I'm sure it was also nice to have Roman and Chris's help with this, especially with especially with the stuff they have on their belts that they've been doing over the years.
Yeah, they're invaluable, and like I said, like Roman and Chris have a wealth of experience behind camera that I do not.
They're kind of like the big brother to look after you.
Oh. Thank you. In a way, yes, I can't deny that. It was anytime things felt like they were slipping from my grasp, they were able to help and hold me up on it. Like they're both skilled in this avenue. Like I said before, if like once again, like the production value of this piece for the budget that was given is really a testament to how well they can do things.
Oh, I hardly agree on that.
Yeah, I have nothing but praise for both of them.
So one more question before we get to the ending of this. Whose idea was to have this film as a black and white film?
We all agreed on it, but that was my initial thought. The moment I brought up black and white, everybody was like on. There was not an argument to be had with that. I think
it gave off Sin City vibes in a good way.
Yeah.
I will say I challenged it. I asked why, but I just wanted to hear his answer. So
and part of what it is I am a big fan of old black and white films. I'm a fan of like black and white. To me is a stylistic choice.
You don't see it a whole lot nowadays.
No, which is a shame because it emphasized, well, I feel like that might be because the lighting is a little trickier to do. Lighting is extremely important in a black and white film. Justin Wright,
you're gonna need a lot of bright colors.
Yeah, excellent lighting.
And Justin actually was super eager to do this when we did tell him it was film noir, because Justin loves film noir. So he actually had a few books on it, and he got excited, went and got his books out, and I know him and Patrick had a meeting and they were talking about it. So that
nice.
I'm glad that we had someone that was already very much their wheelhouse, and he did a very good job with it.
But nice. Light and shadow, the contrast there. I wanted to write it like a noir piece. I wanted to be their depth of complexity with characters. I wanted there to be this is morally gray subject matter. And I always go back to it's called The Third Man. I think it was what it's called, that movie. I had watched that like weeks before I even started writing the script. And watching that, I was like, I want to film things in black and white because one, it helps the piece stand out. Two, I think Batman lends itself extremely well to a noir style world. And three, character conversation feels more intense in a noir setting, particularly if you give it the subject matter that it has. If everything's colorized, it almost feels distracting. But black and white gives it that very stark image. And so you kind of lean into things a little bit more, I feel, whenever you've got black and white on the screen.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. So the last but not least, I'll start with Chris and then Roman and you. So Chris, for anyone who's wanting to get into filmmaking or working on film, stuff like that, what advice would you want to give them?
Pre-production, do a lot of planning, do your homework on what it takes to get permits, or if you're going to do something in the studio, go find people who are doing short films locally and work on their films. Invest your time in favors and good business relationships, good professional relationships with like-minded people who are trying to tell stories in short format like you go do craft services for them, go do lighting for them, go do sound for them. And then when you're filming your project, say, hey, I need a hand. Can you come lend me a hand and cash in those favors? Build equity in those partnerships and those professional relationships.
That's some really sound advice. Same question for you, Roman. What advice would you want to give to someone who wants to kind of get into this industry?
Well, on tacking off what Chris said, because that's pretty much the beginning of the block. So once you get those elements going, when you start to create your project, definitely write what you want. Start with that. Write what you see, and then take a minute and look at it, and then look at your budget. And that's when you need to start being real with yourself and understanding, like, for example, I want to have a guy get lit on fire and run out of a building. And then you can go, well, you can do that, but then it costs $6,000 right there to get that actor to do that. So, you know what I mean? Just little elements like that is what helps kind of channel you back in. Now you can still do visual effects, but is it worth it? That's always how I look at it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's always smart to write for what you're budgeted. Start with that. And as your budget grows with experience and time, then you can start getting into the bigger stuff. But make sure you definitely know what you're capable of. And most importantly, make sure you surround yourself with people that you enjoy working with, people you can trust, especially when you're on a film set and problems start happening, because I can tell you right now, problems will happen. I guarantee it. That is what film is. And you just got to make sure that you surround yourself with the right people that can help you solve that problem, where it not only doesn't slow you down, but it isn't an issue because you've already thought of it. That's the best way to do it. So definitely approach everything, with the plans A through Z. And that's honestly my best advice, on top of what Chris said. And most importantly, create, just make stuff. If you're off, you're not working on a weekend and you have this itch to come up with this concept, write it down. Just start doing it.
I can't argue with that. Same question for you, Patrick. Advice for anyone who's wanting to get into filmmaking, whether it's for an indie film, fan film, or something big?
I would say Roman and Chris already touched on the two most important parts about getting the foundation off the ground, but I'll add this point too, which is what I did for this. Look at what nobody else is doing. There's an old phrase in business, which is everybody's selling beef, sell chicken.
I have never heard of that before.
Yeah, I went to business school. I'm not in reality, I don't come from the film world. But when I wanted to make this piece, I wanted to make it about Commissioner Gordon specifically.
Which you really don't see a whole lot of again.
That was part of the reason. No one does stuff specifically about him and does it in a way that is engaging. It's like
that's what drew me right in.
Yeah.
Once I saw it was about Gordon.
Like, there are so many characters in this world, but a lot of the time it feels like it's Batman and his villains world, and we're all just kind of living it.
Yeah, no. It's always about the rogues gallery, but what about these specific people, which, again, is really cool.
So
Gordon is the chicken.
Yes, Gordon is the chicken.
Gordon is the chicken. And
so when you're making ideas, instead of doing what everyone else is doing, move in an opposite direction. Start from that area while still staying within the world that you want to create, and see where that takes you. Because you may be, by blazing your own path, you may be discovering something that people don't even know they're interested in yet.
I can't argue with that. And it was actually, again, like I said, it was really nice to see something focused on one specific character from their point of view.
Yeah.
Which I think you guys knocked out of the ballpark, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, feel free to any of you guys feel free to answer this. Is there a potential future Batman fan film project that you may want to do?
It's funny you mention that. Go ahead, Patrick.
No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's your world, so we did talk about it. But...
Yes, potentially, but I will say this: like, these things cost money.
Oh, I believe it.
So, not to sound like I'm holding it hostage or anything like that. If there is enough interest in this, I would make another one, because this actually comes from I'm just writing the series for my own interest, whether I produce it or not. It depends. But for me to make another one of these, the interest would have to increase. But the next thing I'm actually working on is something like that may be able to make money. That's the next project I'm going to be working on. Could there be more in the future? Absolutely. I'm not going to disregard that, but at the moment, no, I'm not working on it anymore.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do in the future.
Thank you. We are looking into some original ideas. We definitely want to try and make an original project and then see where it takes us. So
yeah.
Which again, you don't see a whole lot of it. And I think people need to realize there is always something original you can create too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So real quick before I end this, I'll start with Patrick. I think I always like doing is letting people know where they can find you guys on social media. So Patrick, where can people find you on social media so they can follow you?
So I have a confession to make. I'm terrible at self-promotion. I don't even have a Twitter yet, which I need to set up now.
I don't even use my Twitter half the time, so I feel that.
Yeah, I got to do shit with it now. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but and I show up in projects around the Atlanta area every now and then, indie films, bit parts, that sort of thing. Like you'll probably see me in an episode of the Have or Have Nots or something like that. But I don't really commiserate. Like I've got a Facebook page I don't post in that I need to. But in all honesty, it's like, go to Creative Force Films and watch Gordon. And because this is the beginning of something, not the end. Like I've got my own production studio that just started called The Rising Tide.
I like that name.
Yeah,
I do too. And this is the first of many, but it's like, once again, I was lucky in the sense that I could knock it out of the park in the first time just due to the help that I received.
Very nice. Same question for you, Roman. Would you like to promote yourself by letting people know where they can find you on social media?
Oh, yeah, of course. We're Creative Force Films. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Patreon. Now we have a Patreon. And our website, you can find all that there at www.creativeforcefilms.com. Very straightforward. But we have a link tree there and you can check out all our stuff. We also have merchandise. If people are looking to support, you can buy t-shirts, cups. I think we got hats coming out.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah, for the Star Wars films, we have a few like Star Wars related merch in there too. So,
ooh, I might have to look into that.
So,
last but not least, Chris, would you like to promote yourself by letting people know where they can find you on social media?
Sure, Instagram. You can find me at what? They can hear me. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
yeah.
Yeah. I clicked the. On Instagram, you can find me at Burns Actor. Twitter, you can find me at Actor Chris Burns. I do some acting as well. If you look at Roman's second Star Wars film, I show up as Dengar.
Which I have to say,
toilet paper all over.
you made a convincing Dengar. It almost reminded me of the actor who played him in the original.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, when Roman talked to me into it, he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna do a second Star Wars thing. You'll be Dengar." I'm like, "The old fat guy covered in toilet paper? What are you talking about?" He's like, "No, it's like when he's young and still kind of attractive and like full of piss and vinegar." And I'm like, okay, yeah, why not?
Knocked it out of the park.
He convinced me.
Yeah,
but definitely be sure to
Twitter, Instagram, and go watch Roman's second movie, and you can see me in that.
Oh yeah, be sure to highly recommend if you haven't check out No Disintegration so you can see Chris's role as the bounty hunter Dengar.
that's right.
Well, I think that should do it. Again, you guys, thank you for coming on, and of course, for those who are watching, be sure to check out, not only the Batman fan film Gordon, but also be sure to check out Creative Force's other films, Scorekeeper, which I have yet to watch, and also be sure to check out No Disintegrations. Link in the description below. So again, you guys, thank you for coming on to do this.
Thanks for having
me. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And as always, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening, and as always, thank you for watching.